My wife texted me, "I'm filing for divorce and telling the court you're unstable, the house will be mine." I replied calmly, "Smart move." Then I attached the 200 pages of her psychiatrist's notes she'd forgotten on her printer and sent them straight to her lawyer. Minutes later, his call came through, "We need to settle." Now, my name's Brian. I'm 38, a data architect. My wife, Lauren, is 36. She works in PR management. We've been married for 7 years and we have a daughter, Megan. She's 6. Our life on the surface looks fine, but it's complicated. The main complication is the house. It's not just a house. It was my grandfather's. It's ancestral. It's been in my family for generations, and the deed is in my name alone. Lauren has always wanted her name on it. She never said it outright, but she craved it. That text she sent me, the one about filing for divorce, it wasn't a spontaneous decision. I know this because of what happened 3 days ago. I was doing some digital cleanup on our shared Google Drive. We have a family management folder. It's where we keep shared bills, insurance documents, school schedules for Megan, just routine life admin. I saw a strange folder I didn't recognize. Personal notes. I almost just deleted it. It looked like digital junk, almost. But a file name inside it caught my eye. Session, Notes, Dr. Evans, October, Doc X. See, Lauren has always been overconfident. She genuinely believes she is the smartest person in any room. That arrogance, it makes her sloppy. She must have synced her work laptop to our shared drive at some point and just forgot about it. She never imagined someone like me would ever look. She never imagined I'd find it. I opened the file. It was a therapy journal. I hesitated. I know it's an invasion of privacy. I get it. But something told me I had to look. After 7 years of marriage, you develop a gut feeling. My gut feeling was screaming at me. I kept reading. I scrolled past pages of notes about her generalized anxiety, her feelings of insecurity, her panic attacks. I felt a brief pang of guilt. And then I saw it, the entry, a note from 6 months ago. I read the words, and the air left my lungs. Patient Lauren discussed a plan to portray husband Brian as unstable and financially controlling in a potential divorce proceeding. It was all there, in black and white. Patient stated this strategy would help gain leverage in asset division, specifically regarding the ancestral house. This wasn't a bad week. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. This was a calculated 6-month-long plan. I didn't confront her. What was the point? The text message wasn't a question, it was a declaration of war, and the journal wasn't just a diary, it was her entire battle plan. You don't argue with someone who has already planned to lie about you in court, you prepare. The next morning, I made an appointment with David. He's a family law attorney, came highly recommended by a senior colleague. A shark in a bespoke suit is how he was described. Good, that's what I needed. I sat in his office, the city skyline behind him. He was in his mid-50s, sharp eyes. He listened without interrupting, just steepled his fingers. I didn't give him emotion, I gave him data. I showed him the secure copies of the files. He read the key entry from 6 months ago. Then he scrolled to the text message from Lauren. He looked up at me. "She's planning to commit perjury," he said. It wasn't a question, and she wrote it down, I replied. David leaned back in his chair. Well, this is certainly a first. Her arrogance is astounding. He looked at the files again, and these were on a shared family drive. Both of you have access. Yes, I said. Bills, our daughter's school, calendar, everything. She must have synced her laptop and forgot. Then it's discoverable, he said, a faint smile on his lips, especially since it directly refutes the claims she is about to make. It's not just a journal, it's evidence of intent. This is where the right counsel matters. A lesser lawyer might have wanted to attack to file first to use the journal as a threat. David understood the game. He said, "Here is what we are going to do, Brian. Nothing." I waited. We do nothing. We let her file. We let her hire this lawyer. We let her walk into court and submit her official petition. We let her lie to a judge under oath about you being unstable. We let her commit. And then I asked, and then David said, we show her lawyer this evidence. We show him that his client has not only lied to him, but is actively committing a crime. Lawyers, Brian, we really hate being disbarred. He will panic. He will drop her, or he will force an immediate and very favorable settlement. This I understood. This was a strategy. It wasn't about emotion, it was about facts. The truth is, A, emotional. It doesn't care how you feel. It just is. Lauren was operating on emotion, on entitlement, on what she felt she deserved. We would operate on data. David gave me 2 critical instructions. First, do not leave the house under any circumstances. If she gets you to leave, she'll claim abandonment and get exclusive use of the house by default. Stay put. Second, she is going to try and provoke you. She's expecting you to yell, to break something, to prove her right. Do not engage. Record everything. Be a ghost in your own home. I went home. The weekend was the longest 72 hours of my life. I was a ghost. I played with Megan in her room, I made my meals, I worked in my home office, and locked the door. Lauren was vibrating with rage. My calm was driving her insane. She wanted the fight. She needed it. Sunday night, she finally cornered me in the living room. "So that's it," she said, her voice sharp. "You're not even gonna fight for me. You're just gonna give up on our marriage." I looked up from my book. I kept my voice perfectly level. "You already drew up the terms of surrender, Lauren. What is that supposed to mean?" she snapped. "It means you texted me your legal strategy. What is there to fight about? You've already made your plan." Her face went pale. Just for a second, the overconfidence wavered. She knew something was wrong, but her arrogance wouldn't let her see what. "I don't know what you're talking about," she whispered. "I know you don't," I said, and turned back to my book. She stormed off. She thought she was holding all the cards. She had no idea I was holding the only ones that mattered. Monday morning, I took Megan to school. I kissed her goodbye at the gate. "I love you," I told her. I watched her run off to join her friends. That's what this was about, her. I went home, I made coffee, I sat at my desk, and I waited. It came at exactly 11 a.m. An email. The subject line was, "In the matter of Rodriguez versus Garrett," from a Scott Middle Initial Esquire. Her lawyer. I opened it. The attached petition was breathtaking. It was even worse than I'd imagined. The casual cruelty of her text was one thing. This was a formal, legal declaration of war filled with the most toxic, calculated lies. I read through the allegations, my voice in my own head, sounding flat, almost mechanical. Brian is emotionally unstable. Brian has a history of uncontrolled anger, creating an unsafe environment. Brian exhibits irrational financial control, limiting Lauren's access to marital funds. Irrational financial control. A neat legal term for me paying the mortgage on my own house, a house she never contributed a dime to. Then I got to the demands. Full primary custody of Megan. I would be allowed supervised visitation twice a month as if I were some kind of danger to my own daughter. And the house. The house my grandfather built. She demanded its immediate sale, a 50-50 split of the proceeds, and finally, $5,000 a month in spousal support. I sat there for a full minute, just looking at the screen. It wasn't anger I felt, it was a kind of cold, profound disgust. She wasn't just leaving me, she was trying to erase me. She was willing to burn my entire life to the ground, including our daughter's stability, just to get a bigger payout. She had made her final move. She had put her lies on the record. She had signed her name to them under penalty of perjury. I calmly opened a new email. I forwarded the entire package to David. I wrote one sentence in the body, bait taken. My phone rang less than 10 minutes later. It was David. He wasn't calm, he sounded cheerful. "Excellent," he said, his voice brisk. "He's trapped. She's trapped. The allegations are specific, and we can directly refute them with her own words. This is perfect," I said. "What now?" Now, David's voice had a sharp edge. "Now I go to work. You just sit tight. This next part is going to be fast." At exactly 3 p.m. on Monday, David made his move. He didn't call Scott. He didn't request a meeting or file an angry motion. He just sent an email. He forwarded a copy to me. The subject line was "Cold Professional Supplemental Evidence Regarding Rodriguez v. Garrett." The email itself was a masterpiece of legal strategy. It was short, it was polite, and it was an execution. "Mr. Scott," it began, "we are now in possession of documents authored by your client, Miss Rodriguez, which detail her explicit premeditated plan to present false testimony regarding my client's mental state and financial behavior. These documents appear to be her personal therapy journals, which she herself synced to a shared family cloud drive." David didn't stop there. These documents directly contradict, in her own words, every single material claim of instability and financial abuse made in the petition you filed this morning. We strongly advise you to discuss this matter with your client before proceeding, as we would prefer to resolve this amicably rather than through a formal motion for sanctions and a complaint for perjury. And then, nothing. The gambit was played, the trap was sprung, all we had to do was wait for the snap. David had told me, "The next move is theirs, Brian. It won't take long." A lawyer who realizes his client has set him up to be disbarred moves very, very fast. It was the longest 90 minutes of my life. I sat at my desk. The house was silent. I just stared at my phone, watching the clock. 3:30, 4 o'clock, 4:15. I tried to picture the scene on the other end. Scott, her lawyer, getting the email, reading it, probably thinking it was a bluff, then reading it a second time, noticing the clinical precision of the language, therapy journals, shared cloud drive, the cold dread as he realized it was real. I imagined his frantic call to Lauren, the screaming, the accusations, the "how could you be this stupid?" At 4:32 p.m., my phone lit up. It didn't ring, it exploded. A barrage of texts, one after another from Lauren. Text 1, "What did you do?" Text 2, "Scott is freaking out. He's screaming at me. What did you send him?" Text 3 a second later, "Brian, pick up the phone. Right now. You are in so much trouble." Text 4, he says, "You're threatening him. Whatever you did, you have to take it back." Now, I watched the little typing bubble appear and disappear. The raw, unfiltered panic. The entitlement, even in her absolute defeat, still trying to command me. I let her panic. I waited a full 5 minutes. I let the silence stretch. I let her sit in the mess she had so confidently created. Then I picked up the phone. I didn't call her. I just typed one single reply. I sent the message, "Your notes," from the cloud. The reply came back in less than a second. "You bastard, that's illegal. You can't use those. Those are my private medical records." The projection was almost funny. She plans to commit a felony perjury, but I'm the one who's illegal. I typed my final response to her. "Actually, documents found in a shared family drive, which you synced yourself, are discoverable. David checked. Your lawyer can explain the law to you." She started calling, over and over, frantic, desperate calls. I declined the first one, I silenced the next two, then I blocked her number. The chaos was immediate. The game was over. But the final consequence, that came from an angle I never expected. An hour later, I got a call from an unknown number. I figured it was Lauren using a friend's phone. I almost ignored it. I answered, "Hello." The voice on the other end was shaky. "Brian, it's Danielle, Lauren's sister." I was silent. Her sister had always been her biggest cheerleader. She rushed to speak. "Brian, Lauren just called me. She's a mess. She told me what you found. I told her she was crazy. I didn't believe her." "Okay," I said cautiously. So I logged into the family drive. Our parents use it to share photos of Megan. I found the folder. "Brian, I read them." She paused and I heard her take a breath. "I didn't just see the therapy notes," Danielle said. Her voice was ice cold now, full of disgust. "I saw the other texts, the screenshots she'd saved to show her friends, bragging. I didn't know about other texts." "What texts?" About the Porsche. About how she was going to buy a new Porsche Cayenne the day the house sale closed. About how she just had to cry a little in front of the judge and act scared to get what she wanted. My stomach turned. Danielle took a sharp breath. "Brian, what she's doing is wrong. It's evil. She's using your daughter as a pawn. I can't be part of this. My family won't be part of this. If you need me to, I will sign an affidavit. I will testify for you." I thanked her and I hung up the phone. It was done. She hadn't just armed me with the evidence, she had armed my only witness. Checkmate. The collapse was total. David called for an emergency settlement conference the next day. It wasn't a negotiation, it was terms of surrender. We sat at a long, polished table. Me and David on one side, Lauren and her lawyer Scott on the other. Scott looked pale, exhausted. He hadn't slept. Lauren just stared at the table, her face a mask of furious, sullen silence. David spoke, his voice calm and firm. Here is our final non-negotiable offer. 1, 50-50 physical and legal custody of Megan. 2, Brian retains 100% ownership of the ancestral home. It is his separate property period. 3, spousal support will be $1,500 a month for 18 months, not a day more. 4, Lauren will pay Brian's legal fees, which currently total $8 to $1,000, $5 to $100. Scott started to speak. His voice was weak. That's simply not acceptable. We cannot agree to. David didn't even let him finish. He didn't raise his voice. He just reached into his briefcase, pulled out a single sheet of paper, and slid it across the table. It was the printout of the texts from Danielle. The screenshots of Lauren bragging about the Porsche, about how she just had to cry a little to fool the judge. Scott looked at it, his eyes scanned the page. I watched the last bit of color drain from his face. He knew he wasn't just losing a case. He was looking at evidence that could get his client charged and himself sanctioned for presenting it. He slid the paper back. He looked at Lauren. She refused to look at him. He cleared his throat. "We accept," he said. But the settlement was just the legal part. The karma, the true poetic justice. That came later. It came in 3 parts. First, the job. Lauren, working in PR, tried to spin her own narrative. She told everyone in her firm that I was abusive and financially controlling. It was a bad move. One of the senior partners at her firm knew me professionally through a charity board. He heard her story and it didn't add up. An internal HR complaint was filed. Lauren was officially reprimanded for creating a hostile and inappropriate work environment by bringing her defamatory personal disputes into the office. One more incident, they told her, and she'd be fired. Second, the therapist, Dr. Evans. After the case was formally settled and the evidence was sealed, her office contacted David. A week later, Dr. Evans sent Lauren a certified letter. She was terminating their therapeutic relationship effective immediately. The reason cited was a fundamental breach of trust and a pattern of planned deceit that made effective treatment impossible. The very person Lauren had confessed her plan to had now abandoned her because of that plan. Third, the family. This was the one that landed. This was the third-party validation that mattered. I got a call one evening about a month after Lauren had moved out. An unknown number. It was Robert, Lauren's father. Robert is a quiet man. A man of few words from a generation that valued integrity. His voice was heavy. He said, "Brian, I want to apologize." I told him he didn't need to do that. "Yes, I do," he said, his voice firm. "We didn't raise her that way." I didn't know what she was planning until Danielle showed me those messages. He went quiet for a moment. "She tried to take your house and your daughter by lying." "You did the right thing, son. Don't you ever let anyone tell you different." And he hung up. 6 months have passed. The house is quiet. Megan is here. Her artwork is hanging on the refrigerator. We repainted the living room. It feels lighter. I'm in therapy myself, processing the betrayal. I spent $20,000 on legal fees. I lost 7 years of my life to that marriage. And it made me think, what if revenge isn't sweet? We have this thing called outcome bias. We judge a decision based on whether it worked out. We think this story is a victory because I kept the house and won the case. But what if I hadn't? What if it had been messier? What if I'd lost the house but still protected my daughter? Would the fight still have been the right thing to do? The answer is yes. Absolutely yes. We get confused. We think the victory is the result, but the victory isn't the result. The victory is the decision. The real win wasn't keeping the house. The real win happened at 3 p.m. on that Monday when I chose to fight back with facts instead of caving to her emotional blackmail. The value of that action wasn't in the money I saved. It was in the moment I chose my own dignity. The win wasn't the settlement. The win was the choice. The rest, that's just collecting on the damages. Lauren made a fatal mistake. She thought I was her opponent. She was wrong. In a game of chess, your real opponent is never the person sitting across from you. Your real opponent is always your own arrogance. She was so confident in her lies that she became careless with the truth. She was so focused on her strategy that she didn't realize she was handing me the evidence to defeat it. She didn't just lose. She checkmated herself. Have you ever witnessed someone get completely undone by their own overconfidence? What would you do if you found that kind of evidence? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And make sure you're subscribed to Project Checkmate, because the next move is always the deciding one.